podcast where you get to embrace your inner nerd. I'm your first host, Brandon.
And I'm your host, Aaron.
That is our intro.
Brandon,
Aaron.
there are people on this planet
Yeah.
that don't like music, and I don't like that.
Very random, but go on. No, how are you? Oh, I'm good.
No. We're opening with this.
Okay.
Watch this.
Okay.
So, I don't know why I've come just here and there at random places. I'll be watching YouTube, going through shorts, going through reels, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And there'll be this content creator maybe asking his crew about like music they listen to.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just people having a discussion, whatever it is. And somehow, more often than you think, there's someone that'll go, I actually don't listen to music. And they'll be like, really? And they're like, yeah, I whenever I have the choice, I put on like a podcast or a radio station or something like that. Or an audiobook. Like, they're like, I don't remember the last time I listened to music deliberately. Maybe in a movie or a show that I'm watching, but I don't listen to music.
Huh.
And I find that scary because, like, I feel like music is like a human necessity. Like, you have to, like, part of the way that your brain is entertained or gets some kind of serotonin is through music.
Well, yeah, so I could understand that, like, at this point, especially for how long music has been a part of human society and almost like human nature at this
Right.
point. It's like it's kind of like a part of humanity in general. Like,
Well, like it's obsolete or something?
what?
I don't know.
No.
Okay.
No. What? That's the opposite of what I'm saying.
Okay.
No. What I don't understand is, like, yes, I could see some people who, I feel like there's a difference between people who don't listen to music, because don't get me wrong, I've actually encountered certain points in my life where I'm like, you know what, it's been a while since I've listened to like my playlist.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to listen to that because maybe I'll get sucked into a podcast or I'll get sucked into an audiobook. And especially with when I listen to them, like it's usually in between trips and whatnot. You know, I get so honed in on it, and then it gets to a point where I'm like, hey, it's been a while since I've like listened to some music.
Right.
But so that I could kind of understand if someone's like, oh, it's just not something that's like on my mind. I don't really think about it. But if you don't listen to music at all or don't like music, like if you are someone who genuinely said like, I do not like music, then you are a psychopath. That is not okay. Like, yes, sure, this is subjective. Like, everyone's allowed to have their opinions, whatever kind of bullshit you want to believe. But music.
Right.
Music.
Yeah. But that's kind of just the reaction I had. I was just surprised. I was like, why do I feel like more often than not I'm hearing that there's people, and they're not saying that it's like what you described. Like every now and then they'll be like, oh, I'll put on some music. These are people that are like, I don't listen to music. I would rather be listening to a podcast. I would rather be doing this. I'd rather be doing that than listening to music.
I don't know. Me personally, like, I like podcasts and I like audiobooks and stuff, but I prefer listening to music.
Yeah.
Sure, don't get me wrong, it's kind of gotten to a point to where a lot of the music that I like, I've kind of listened to over and over again, so it's kind of run a little stale, and I have a hard time looking for new music that I like genuinely enjoy and can like jam the shit out of.
Yeah.
Excuse my language. But you don't like music, or like you would prefer to listen to something else but music? That's just strange. That's just strange.
Yeah. I thought that was weird.
Where did you hear that? What brought this up?
I told you.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
Whoops.
I said I've happened to come across it a lot
I think I've
lately.
only heard one person.
But it's been enough times that I was like, what the hell? And I wrote it down.
I think the only time I've really heard someone say I don't listen to music, or possibly I don't like music, I think they just said I don't listen to music, is Markiplier. I think Markiplier's the only one I've heard say that he doesn't listen to music. Because I listen to Distractable, and I'm 99% sure he said that at least once.
Interesting.
He kind of looks like a guy who doesn't listen to music. He's got enough stuff going on.
Anyway, so Brennan, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm little sour because I didn't have like the greatest weekend. Now I'm back at the grind of work, but it could be worse.
Gotcha.
Yeah. How about you?
Well, Brandon, I missed work today because I was like, you know what? I'm going to try something new. And I did a 1-day diet reset plan. Drank all these different types of fluids. Granted, TMI, I peed a lot throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these were like very heavy drinks in terms of like thickness or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And ingredients and such. But not once throughout the entire day did I have to poop. Until I was getting ready for bed, tried to go to bed, had to go again, and I did that back and forth. You know, I'd go to bed, try to fall asleep. Sometimes I would fall asleep, but wake up from my stomach hurting so goddamn bad that I'd wake up from it, go to the bathroom again, and I did that back and forth until, we just talked about it a little bit ago, like 5:30 in the morning. And I was like, I haven't gotten enough sleep. Like, I can barely walk right now.
Right.
My butt cheeks hurt. I can't keep my eyes open for the life of me. And this smell is traveling with me at this point. So I'm starting to feel sick.
Oh, no.
So I don't want to go to work. So I had to message my supervisor and be like, hey, not a great day for me to come to work. I'm going to take a personal day.
That's one good thing about having kids, because if I were to do that dietary thing and I had to skip out work, I could blame it on the kid. Like, hey, my kid's shitting his brains out. I don't know why, but I got to stay home and clean this. You know what's weird? I'm having deja vu. I did actually have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just remembering there was one time I was working for a company that I shall not name by tuity. And there's one morning when I woke up and Emmett had a stomach bug.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm literally like, I'm clocking into work. Because it was a remote job. I'm like clocking in and I'm getting ready and putting on my headset. And then Emmett just starts puking and shitting everywhere.
Yeah.
And I just remember slowly taking off my headphones, calling my boss, and I'm like, hey, so I'm not going to be able to work today. Yeah, no, I feel fine. I'm okay. My son is like extracting fluids from all ends. I got to clean this up. I can't guarantee that I'll be able to clock in today. I apologize for the inconvenience. Okay, you want to make things difficult? I'm going to hang up now.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can
nice
blame
excuse.
you can blame it on your kids.
Yeah, and I told Mom about it, and she was like, probably wasn't a good idea for you to do that on a Sunday. And I was like, well, it came Saturday, but it didn't come early in the morning like it was supposed to. It was supposed to arrive at like 8 a.m.
Yeah.
So that I can start it at 8 a.m. But no, it came around like 12. So I was like, you know, it gives you like 6 different full-size drinks, and then it gives you around 9 like shots. They're like ginger shots, nutrition shots, so on and so forth. Some of them are even paired with some of the full-size drinks. Like they'll be labeled so that you take them at the same time. But you have to do it in 2-hour increments. Okay. So it's like, I have all of these. I wouldn't even be able to make it till the end of the day unless I stayed up really late.
Right.
And I'd have to still do this really late at night. So I was like, I'll just do it tomorrow. But my mindset was like, you know, I'm going to be having all these things, especially like fibers, proteins, vegetables going through my body. I'm going to have to go to the bathroom, especially number 2.
Right.
No. Again, all of it just kind of accumulated till the very end of the day. So that's fun.
What I would have done if I were you is order it, let it get there whenever it is it gets there, and then just wait until the Friday.
I didn't want those fresh stuff being in a fridge for a week. Because like fresh, like non-preserved stuff has a shorter lifespan.
True, but this is how I think about it. Despite when you get it or when you order or whatnot, have it there by like available for you to start on Friday, like early in the morning Friday. And for me, I have Friday morning meetings, so I would be able to start it like at 6. And then you poop your brains out at the end of the day, which more likely will be after work hours. Mm-hmm. And then you get to sleep in on Saturday, and then you let your body readjust all Saturday, and then you have Sunday to do yourself, and then you're good Monday.
I guess, but that would mean, 1, I'd have to have it sitting in my fridge for a week.
Yeah.
And 2, it would mean that I'd have to take it to work and be like, while I'm focusing on work, I'd have to be checking the time and making sure that I'm paying attention to these very specific things that I have to take. It'd just be kind of annoying.
Yeah. I guess it would be a little easier for me because like I sit at a desk all day and I have like a fridge that's like relatively nearby.
Yeah.
All I would need to do is just grab it and drink it.
Yeah, I didn't have that option. But this weekend was kind of interesting. I finally got the PC video out.
Yeah.
PC build video out.
Which is very good, by the way.
Thank you. It's not doing well at all. So that's fun. And I had to take it down, redo it, or not redo it, but fix it, quote unquote, and repost it because there's a song that I used in the first draft that came from a site that was like free asset, like royalty free music.
Right.
Used the song, and the guy who made the song tried to copyright my video. So I was like, well, that's great. Because he also decided to do it like 8 hours after it was posted.
Right.
So I had already accumulated some views and like interactions by then.
Yeah.
So when I had to take it down, fix it, and repost it, it's starting from around 0, didn't get the same engagement. It's got less views than it did in the time that it did the first time.
Right.
Because people had already watched it at that point.
Yeah.
And I also obviously don't have a consistent following to guarantee those numbers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just not doing well. Maybe I'll try to like rework the thumbnails, which one of them was like the main thumbnail, and then I made 2 other thumbnails that were kind of like easy put together thumbnails.
Right.
Maybe it's like a title thing. I don't know, but I did everything that I do for like my higher quality videos, and it's just not getting that kind of attention. So, which sucks because it's like that's the one video. It's like one of those things. It's like the video that you want to work and the video that you want to do well and that you work really hard on doesn't do well, and then the stupid you sitting there for 10 minutes rambling about something that doesn't mean anything does better.
That's how I felt about the Temu video.
Yeah.
Because the Temu video in my head was like, you know what? This is going to get like 10 views. I'm literally only making this because it was a super affordable video.
Mm-hmm.
It was easy to make. The quality wasn't even that good. The audio could have been better. The video could have been better. And I did it maybe in like 30 minutes. Like I recorded it fairly quickly and I was winging it the whole time.
Yeah.
And then people are like, "Oh my god, this is like the greatest thing. This like, you're my new favorite YouTuber." And I'm getting all this like extra optimistic responses and it got so many views. I'm like, "Seriously? This one? Like don't get me wrong, I'm grateful. But come on."
Mm-hmm. But it is what it is. The video's out. It's, on to the next project. On to new stuff.
What do you have ideas of what you're going to be doing next?
Yeah, I've
Get a little sneaky peedy.
I mean, I've brought it up in the past 2 videos. I'm going to do like a road to marathon series. Oh, yeah. So this next one will be the first episode. And it'll be like my hands-on impressions of the alpha and essentially like my experience with it, my knowledge on the game, feedback I've had, and then, there was a point when I was kind of sick and tired of playing by myself or playing with random people that I couldn't communicate with. So I finally put up a post on the Xbox Clubs thing. Yeah. And I was like, hey, I need 2 more players that I can actually like talk to.
Right.
And I played with 2 people consecutively for a few matches. And they were saying I was just asking them. I was like, I'm going to be going into like the feedback thing. I'm actually making a video. And I was like, if you guys have any feedback that, I'm missing that I haven't pointed out, because I was literally talking about it with them while we were playing. And they said a lot of the same stuff. They were like, there's balancing issues. Like, it's really interesting how aggressive the AI are. Like, it's interesting, like, because they're tactical. Like, they can like hide behind cover, or they can communicate with each other to, ambush you in a particular way. But they're just really tough.
Yeah.
Like, they can mow you down really quick. And if you're by yourself, you're screwed. Like, the game is not designed, and Bungie's even admitted that it's not designed for you to play by yourself. But if you're really tactical, it's quote-unquote possible for you to do by yourself.
I did a quick run through that one time when I played it on your console. And I did notice that there were times when I felt like it was very inconsistent with how, not like, because I agree, they were very aggressive and they were kind of smart for like a, like an AI for like as an enemy and whatnot. But I found an inconsistency with how easy or difficult they were to actually take down. Because there were some points when I would like shoot at them and they would just like die, like easily. Like I was like way too confident, like, oh, I'm doing so good. And then there are some points when I'm like, no, I'm not crazy. I know for a fact that I hit them multiple times and no life at all was going away. Yeah. So it was a very and I'm obviously it's still in it's not like a completed game or whatnot. Right. So I know that there's going to be bugs, but that one was probably the number one thing that kind of frustrated me.
So I'm going to be going through it in my video, but what I found out is that it actually has something to do with hit. Like there's like targeting points on all of the AI. Yeah. And like, obviously if you hit them in the head, they'll go down really quick. Right. But they have armor plates on their body that are stronger in some areas. So you have to know where to shoot them. Right. I didn't know that until watching another video, and someone finally pointed that out. And same thing goes for, there's this shield tier thing. So you know how in a lot of games there's this, they've been doing this thing. It's like, oh, you've got a gray weapon is basic, a green weapon is common, blue uncommon, so on and so forth. Right. So that also applies to shields. So if you're using like a gray gun on a blue shield, you're not going to do anything to that shield.
Yeah.
So, which I think is one, it's not clear that it's like that at all.
Yeah, that's kind of
Bungie,
odd.
I've noticed, and it's something I'm going to be going through. Bungie's not very clear with tutorials in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to figure out a lot on your own. And what tutorials there are, they're very vague, or you have to go out of your way to find it. And I just think that like it should be more like Halo, because Halo has different like level weapons,
Right.
but you know, whether it's like Bungie time Halo or it's current like 343 Halo, if some person's running at you with like a gravity hammer and you've just got like a Magnum, the gravity hammer is obviously like a higher tier weapon,
Right.
but it's how you use the Magnum that you could still take the guy with the gravity hammer down.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that. So it should be based on skill, not like tier, like color coded tiers or whatever.
That's something else, is because like, especially like, because you followed kind of the progress of them making this game and whatnot,
Yeah.
especially way more than I do. So whatever I say could just be complete BS. But because you mentioned that one of the heads or like the leads of this game worked on Valorant.
Yeah, he was the one of the heads of Valorant.
So something that I kind of find strange is that, and I'm not too familiar with a lot of extraction shooters, and I don't know how most of them play. I've seen gameplay, and sometimes I get a little confused because it doesn't really seem like my work phone is going off. It doesn't really seem that different from other like military style multiplayer games.
Marathon, you mean?
No, sorry, just like extraction shooters in general.
Oh.
Sorry, I wasn't that clear. Just extraction shooters in general, from the gameplays that I've seen of other games, they seem just very standard military based.
Yeah, it's more like the
Multiplayer.
gameplay loop itself is different.
But what I find strange is that Marathon is, I feel like they're taking too many ideas from games like Valorant or Apex or what have you, and not enough from like Halo or Call of Duty or stuff like that, because like they're focusing too much on like gray shields, blue shields, what have you, gray weapons, blue weapons, what have you, where I don't really like that. Like, we were just playing Warzone yesterday, and something that I like about Warzone, like, yes, they have different like leveled weapons, but personally, for me, I don't really feel a difference between the weapons. Like, I never really like thought like, oh, this is a red weapon, I'm gonna use that.
Yeah.
No, it's more of just, what is the weapon? That's what I'll use, and I don't have to worry about different shields either. It's more of just like, how many plates can I pick up and like put in?
Right. Sometimes like the color coded weapons, like they'll handle a little better, or they'll come with like attachments put on them,
Yeah,
or like maybe they'll have like a special type of ammo that punches through armor faster.
but there's something about Warzone where it feels like everyone is on the same playing field, both not literally but metaphorically, and it feels like everyone has like a very equal opportunity, and the only thing that varies is just experience and skill.
Yeah, skill is
Which is what I personally like.
yeah.
But then when you have things like, and sure, Apex, it has its own thing, and I kind of like it in that alone because it's very reminiscent to Apex. It's
Wait.
Huh?
You said I like Apex because it's reminiscent to Apex.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. What I like Apex because all that stuff is very, I don't know, it's unique to the game,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like it kind of belongs to Apex
Okay.
to a degree. And then when you have other games like Marathon that should be more of its own thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then it starts taking more material from others like Apex or Valorant or what have you, it kind of just, it doesn't feel like its own game. And there are
Yeah.
things that could be better, but they're not because they're so stuck on what they claim isn't a hero based system.
It is most definitely a hero shooter.
It feels
The-
like a hero shooter.
The only difference is that in all hero shooters, the heroes come with not only their own abilities, but they come with their own weapons,
Right.
and like powers and stuff like that. Whilst in this game, you're a hero with your own abilities and skills and perks and stuff, but you can just pick up whatever weapon you want. That's the only difference.
That's also very reminiscent to Apex. Like, you go in with an ability and power set and what have you. You just need to pick up weapons and shields.
Like, you can call Apex a battle royale all you want. It is a battle royale, but it's also a hero shooter.
Right.
Like, sometimes people get hung up on like what a hero shooter is exactly, but it's not. There's like two. We just need to accept that there's like two versions of a hero shooter. One of them allows you to pick up different weapons, and the other doesn't.
Yeah.
Like, one's just a little bit more strict than the other, and the Marathon's just the less strict of the two.
Right.
They're talking about. I'm gonna save this for my video too, but there's a point that I make. They keep telling us that Marathon is designed to quote unquote revolutionize the extraction genre.
Mm.
So far, there's nothing to prove that. And what they're saying is going to revolutionize it is a map. Like a specific map is going to revolutionize it. But I don't think that's enough to convince people that.
Right.
Because the thing is that they're not marketing it very well. Like, the only reason people know about it is because, aside from the trailers, content creators are marketing Marathon.
Yeah.
Again, aside from that short, like, cinematic trailer and the gameplay trailers and stuff, there's no marketing on it at all. And so I don't know how they're going to sell the game as like a quote unquote premium game with no marketing.
Yeah.
And it comes out in 5 months.
That's crazy.
And what they're releasing right now is quote unquote an alpha. So there's not a lot of time for the game to be like flushed out.
Yeah.
Anyways, I didn't want to go too much on a ramble about Marathon, but yeah, that's going to be the next couple videos. I might try to squeeze in something different in between them. But like I said, what I'm trying to do, there's not a lot of time between now and when the game comes out, so we'll see.
Right.
You brought up Warzone.
Yeah.
I was actually going to bring that up because Warzone is a game that I've only played one other time. I've played Call of Duty before. I've had my experience with Call of Duty. I'm not a big Black Ops person. I'm more of a Modern Warfare person. But I played Black Ops 6. It was pretty good. The gameplay is really interesting and fun. And I just try to stay away from Warzone because I got really sick and tired of battle royales. I got really sick and tired of Apex. I'm not going to lie, Apex is fun. If you're playing with the right people and you're not just like going gung-ho, and you're actually thinking about how you're playing, it can be really interesting.
Right.
I think sometimes the loading screens make it feel longer.
Yeah.
Like when you're going in between matches. And Warzone, I hate how addicting Warzone is. Because Blake he convinced me to download it. I downloaded it, and I was like, damn, I hate how much fun I'm having right now.
Yeah.
And then we ended up spending all day playing it. But the thing is Warzone's a little bit more. Sure, I'd say it's a little bit more aggressive. Because you don't. I mean, you do technically have to manage your shields like an Apex, but it comes in the form of like armor plating. Right. But the gameplay, especially like with the new Omni movement stuff, makes it more interesting. The map, I think, is more interesting, and it's bigger. But and like when you're really playing with like a whole squad and you're being super tactical and being very like pragmatic,
right?
It's really interesting. But what I was saying about it being more palatable is the whole gulag system. The fact that you can jump into a game, die, given one more chance, like essentially one more free chance.
Right.
And if you die any time after that, if you've accumulated enough money in a match, you know, a teammate can buy you back in.
Yeah.
So, you know, with how long the matches go, it gives you more leeway to like have a fighting chance. Yeah. As long as other people are like all working together and communicating enough.
Right.
But damn, yeah, I was really trying to stay away from Battle Royale games, but we had been playing a lot of Halo. We haven't been playing as a group as much in a while.
Yeah.
And going and kind of slowly transitioning back to playing together again. A couple of us were just like, we kind of want something that's like fast and, you know, keeps us on our toes and let's do something. And that's kind of how Warzone came into the picture. And we've unfortunately been having a lot more fun than I'd like to admit.
Yeah, another thing that really irritates me though is how or what it requires you to have in order to download the game. Because you can't just download Warzone. Because I kind of got my hopes up. I went to go re-download it. And I'm like, oh, it's only going to take like 32 minutes. Awesome.
Yeah.
No, you got to download Warzone and you have to download
Call of Duty.
Just Call of Duty in general.
Yeah, because Call of Duty now is essentially a hub.
Right.
And then Warzone is the game that you're playing.
But that's so lame because like I don't want a hub. I don't want to download half of my storage and like use it up just to play a fraction of what the hub is offering.
Yeah,
it's
there's some franchises that are trying to lean into that though, because in long term there's a lot of studios like AAA studios that want to punch out more games more often. But instead of making new servers for new games and stuff, they'll have like a single hub that all of their games go to. Like Assassin's Creed, they're talking about doing like it's called like Helix, like the Helix Plus or something like that, where it's like you download Helix and then through Helix is where you access all of your quote unquote memories, which is the Assassin's Creed games.
Right.
And you can even buy Assassin's Creed games through Helix or whatever, so that the money's going directly to Ubisoft.
Yeah.
But it's something that's probably not everyone's going to do it, obviously, but there are some franchises that, you know, like their whole deal is punching out like games frequently that are leaning into potentially doing that.
Yeah, I feel like there is a world where that is kind of ideal, but the only thing is depending on the company and everything, are they going to make it to where, like, let's use Assassin's Creed for example, where the Helix Hub thing or the Helix Plus you can download for free and the only thing that you're buying is the game? Or are they going to make you pay for the Helix Plus?
I don't know.
See, that's where it gets really confusing.
It might be free because it might work like a game launcher.
Maybe, but I don't like that because depending on who you ask, I feel like there's a lot of stuff about console games and servers, and I mean even with PC, where it kind of just gets confusing because there's like Game Pass and EA whatever, and there's all this stuff, and it's like, whatever happened to just like turning on your gaming console, whether it's your computer or a console, and just opening a game and playing it? And like, sure, they still have that now, but it feels way more complicated than it needs to be. Because I'm not paying all this money for all this weird and extra complicated crap. I want to turn on my console. I want to choose a game. I want to play that game.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Call me old fashioned.
You know, it's funny that you say that, because on Saturday, there was like a Wi-Fi outage. Like if you had Xfinity, you had an outage in this area. And so the internet was down for a bit, and I just turned on the console. And I don't know what compelled me to do it, because I knew we didn't have internet at the time. But I opened up Assassin's Creed, and yeah, I did get a little error code saying like, "Oh, you're offline," but it just brought me into the game, and I was able to play. And I was like, I don't remember. I was like, I don't know if it applied to the previous Assassin's Creed games, but I was kind of just genuinely surprised I could play the game as is without playing online.
Well, that's something that
you don't see that very often.
That's something that I remember used to be a conversation a long time ago, around the time when multiplayer started to really like be more accessible, and it started to be integrated into more games and franchises. It started to feel like it was getting to a point where you couldn't play any video games without some kind of internet.
Right.
And sometimes, like, when it comes to the Xbox, I have the digital one, so there's a lot of times when I don't even bother trying, because my brain is convinced that if I don't have internet, then I can't play video games at all.
Yeah.
Which, especially if you have a digital version, the chances of that being the case might be higher, but especially if you have Game Pass and everything. But with like a disc game, sometimes I forget. It's like, no, you don't actually need internet to play this game. Because you have the game. The only thing you can do is just access some of the online stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't like the fact that I forget about that fact, because I can't tell you how many times I've been in a situation where I'm like, oh, I just want to play games, but I can't because of like the internet connection.
Like you literally need an internet connection to do anything.
Right. So like I just force myself not force myself, but I prevent myself from not playing video games, because my brain's like, oh, you won't be able to. Like, so what's the point in trying? But that's not true. The world isn't like that crappy yet. Like, I can still play video games without internet.
Yeah.
Oh, but sometimes it's like, you're right, you don't need internet, but it makes it perform a little bit better. That's still dumb. I want internet to make the quality good. That's why I miss the 360 sometimes.
I miss the 360 a lot. But what was I saying?
You said but.
Oh, so random segue. I was trying to find a segue to this, but there isn't one. I'm just going to use Assassin's Creed Shadows as an excuse. Assassin's Creed Shadows, you play as a girl whose dad died, masked people, group, get revenge, blam. Okay, there's a new game that's doing the exact same thing. What is it? Ghost of YOTEI.
Okay.
That's what we're talking about.
Yes, I saw the trailer for Ghost of YOTEI.
Looks beautiful.
I'm so freaking excited. Way more excited than I was for Assassin's Creed Shadow, which is unfortunate because I love Assassin's Creed. But I am stoked. I mean, you've heard me rant about Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
Probably one too many times.
Right.
it's just a great game. It's so satisfying. It's a beautiful game. Even during its PS4 era, its PS5 is even better.
Right.
It's just an amazing freaking game.
Yeah, it's like a top tier 10 out of 10 game, and then to be like, they're doing it again.
Right. Like, the only complaints that I had about Ghost of Tsushima was one, cutscenes. You couldn't skip cutscenes, which the first go I did not care.
Right.
The second go I did care. Because there's some cutscenes I'm like, oh yeah, I mean, I like to watch this because I like to know what's going on and whatnot. Maybe I don't remember this part. But then there's certain things like when it's showing a title and it's taking, like, it's not loading. It's just they have a long process to show you a title or a chapter title.
Yeah.
And it just takes a while and you wish you could skip it. You can't skip anything. So that was like my number one gripe. And then I remember watching a before you buy video for the first Ghost of Tsushima. And it was a lot of just like how stale people were when talking to each other.
Yeah.
They didn't move a lot. They maybe moved their heads like back and forth every now and then.
Yeah, I remember that.
But like that surprisingly never bothered me. Like when you're playing the game, you get so sucked in to where it kind of like you don't even notice it. But what I love about Ghost of YOTEI is it looks like, I can't say anything about like skipping stuff, but all of that stuff is worked on. The cutscenes look way more fleshed out, way more like honed in on, and I'm so excited because I thought that the first game was all like damn near perfect, which is so rare for me to say because I feel like I have way more to gripe about modern video games. But if Ghost of YOTEI is anything like the first game, it might even be a perfect game because it might just take all the things that I like about the first one and just make it better.
Yeah.
So I'm so freaking excited. And honestly, we talked about this and you kind of just mentioned it. The story to Ghost of YOTEI is almost identical to Assassin's Creed Shadow.
Yeah.
I think they might, and I don't know if I'm being biased right now. I think they're doing it a little bit better.
I mean, I think they... I wouldn't... See, this is where we get into... Controversial is not the right word. This is where we get into kind of like debating territory. I don't think... Because I remember the first time it was brought up, you were like, oh, YOTEI will probably do it this better, X, Y, and Z. And the thing is sure, Ghost of YOTEI, in terms of quality, in terms of visuals, there's probably going to be a lot of stuff like that where it's like, obviously Ghost of YOTEI is way better.
Right.
But just based off of first impressions, also kind of using Ghost of Tsushima as like a template of like what to expect. There are some things Assassin's Creed does better. Like, if Ghost of Tsushima is anything to go off of for the new game, in terms of gameplay, more specifically, like in terms of stealth, playing as Naue.
Yeah.
I would just from, like, I've even watched, I'm sure how it feels is different from watching it.
Yeah.
But just from watching it, like, and seeing all of the mechanics that the main character from Ghost of Tsushima could do and stuff like that, Assassin's Creed Shadows just seems a little bit more in depth and makes you feel more like, and there again, it's also something where I kind of want to backtrack a bit and be like, you shouldn't compare those things because when it comes to stealth, Naue's a ninja, essentially.
Yeah.
And I don't know his name from Ghost of Tsushima. Sakai. He's a samurai, or was a samurai, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So then you could be like, oh, well, Shadows has a samurai. But they're different too, because Sakai is like an average sized guy, while Yasuke in Assassin's Creed Shadows is designed to be like a tank.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be like this guy that's bigger than everyone else, and he plays like that too.
Right.
So you can't compare that either, because he fights and he moves differently than Sakai.
Yeah.
And in terms of visuals, graphically, Ghost of Yotai looks out of this world.
Way better.
And like, sure, the cutscenes, they're going the route that any PlayStation or AAA game goes, where cutscenes are cutscenes.
Yeah.
And sure, they do, if it's like Ghost of Tsushima, there are like the just conversation things.
Yeah.
So they don't have to do whole motion captured cutscene for every single conversation. But
it looks like they're focusing more on the cutscenes this go around than they did on the first game.
in Assassin's Creed Shadows, it's the same way. They have cutscenes, and then they also have like the conversation. But because Assassin's Creed Shadows leans more towards an RPG, there's just more of the conversational scenes other than like actual cutscenes. And I was thinking about that playing just the other day, because there's a mission where you have to play as Yasuke, and it takes you into a flashback of when he like first meets another character. It's not important, but it takes you into like a real cutscene, and you're seeing so many of like the conversational cutscenes that when it goes into a real cutscene, I'm like blown away sometimes on how good Assassin's Creed Shadows looks.
Yeah.
Because if there's one thing Ubisoft does really well, is performance capture. The faces, like just the micro movements and some of the things in Yasuke's face in the middle of the conversation, I was like, whoa. Like, that alone makes him look like a real person.
I think that's kind of a recent thing, though, for Assassin's Creed, because they had really good facial capture years ago. And I feel like after Origins, it took like a pause, because facial capture was really weird from Odyssey through Mirage.
But the thing is in like Odyssey and Valhalla, you didn't see the performance capture unless it was in like a real cutscene. But in those games, the real cutscenes are like rare.
Well, right.
Whilst in Shadows, they're actually much more common.
Yeah, but earlier when I was saying that Ghost of Yotai was doing it better, I was strictly talking about the story.
Well, we don't know that yet.
We don't. Again, it might be a biased answer. As of right now, it's hard to say, but just based on first impressions and like playing enough of Shadows, like we haven't finished it, but like enough to understand the story and how they executed it. There's something about Assassin's Creed Shadow where like they threw in all the like origin stuff, but it felt like some of it felt kind of rushed, and some of it kind of felt like just really stale. Like there wasn't a lot of like emotion behind it for me. I wasn't really like engaged or like connected to what was going on.
Okay.
And something about it is just like, yes, there's like an origin of like her dad dying in Assassin's Creed Shadow, but something about that whole sequence of like her meeting like her future enemies and whatnot, where it kind of just felt like they purely only did this to introduce characters, and that's it. Like I felt like it failed with the emotional drive and everything. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like something about Ghost of Yotai with how they're going about it, I feel like it's just going to be done better, and I feel like there's going to be more of like a visual and like cinematic aesthetic that's going to be introduced that makes it a lot more engaging, kind of like a Kill Bill vibe. That's what I kind of got from the trailer.
But see, that's the thing, is that's kind of part of the whole, that's when it becomes difficult to compare them.
Right.
Because with Assassin's Creed, you're kind of going like the excuse, if I were to defend Assassin's Creed, it would be, sure, maybe there's not a lot of emotion. I mean, purely aside from acting, I think the acting's great in that specific cutscene that you're referring to.
Yeah.
But the thing is unlike Ghost of Yotai, again, just based on the trailer, first impressions, Assassin's Creed Shadows, you have to work to find the origin a little bit more, because you have to go to these different sites where Naue meditates, and she does that thing where you have to like play the little mini game.
Yeah.
And it takes you into a flashback of her interacting with her dad and you learning more about Iga, and she interacts with her aunt and some of the other people in her village.
Right.
And so you become attached to the characters in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of similar to some of the older Assassin's Creed games, like the ones with Ezio used to do that.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to just, it's kind of part of the RPG aspect of you exploring the world and intuitively searching for that answer.
Right.
And they also kind of do a Kill Bill thing, because same thing, they have all of these masked people on horses, and they're called the Shambukufu. I forgot what it was called. It's really long name, but that group of people with like that very cool, fun music in the background, and then there's even like an ink drawing of them up on their wall, and they're like marking people down as they go. But Ghost of Yotai, it looks like, as you said, they're just making it a little bit more cinematic, and probably like the first game where you're getting the whole her background in the beginning sequence or prologue of the game, and then it'll take you into when she's an adult.
You know what I think it is? I think it's because, one, Assassin's Creed in the past few games have all kind of done the same thing, where there's a group of people, like masked people, who you have to go and take down, and it doesn't matter which order you do it in.
Mm-hmm.
In this game, they do kind of make it a little more linear, to where like you can't do one, like one will unlock another one. But
and
like
sometimes some of them are higher ranked, so it kind of guides you into which ones you should focus on.
But it also spins off like a dramatic amount of side stuff to do, to the point where you kind of get lost into like what should happen first and what you should wait on. But I think what I like about it being more of a linear story, there again, I prefer linear stuff and campaign driven things, but what I think something like this works better at is because it doesn't feel like a random list that you can kind of just like get to when you feel like it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, her life now is strictly just these people.
Right.
And like that is her goal. And sure, there's probably going to be a ton of side stuff in Ghost of Yotai. Like it's going to be like a free roam game and what have you. But
yeah,
there's going to be something about it to where it feels like, no, this is her. This is her path. This is her destiny. And there are other things to do on the side, but like this is what she needs to do. While in Assassin's Creed Shadow, it kind of feels like, yeah, there was an emotional drive in the beginning, but now they're kind of just like a list of people that she probably should kill.
Mm-hmm.
But she'll get to it when she can.
Right.
So the whole RPG thing kind of takes you out of it a little bit, which is, I think, is where Ghost of Yotai will kind of like do a little better at. But I don't know. They both have their pros and cons. And when it comes to the gameplay, it's a little easier for me to say just because I've played both practically like side by side.
Mm-hmm.
But I think visually, Assassin's Creed does it better because there's a lot more like actual like parkour, and there's like motion capture movement into a lot of things, and there's like flips and stuff, and it makes it feel a lot more like a person doing these cool climbing movements and what have you,
mm-hmm.
which is cool and all, but it's not as smooth and almost glide-like as Ghost of Tsushima, because in in Assassin's Creed, you kind of have to like, I don't know. It doesn't feel like in Ghost of Tsushima where I feel like I can be from point A to point B as like super fast. Like, yes, you are playing as a ninja in Assassin's Creed, but I feel more like a ninja in Ghost of Tsushima.
Okay.
Because I could be in one spot, I could shoot a guy, and then in a matter of seconds, I could be in a completely different spot of the area, and they'd be like, "Where did he go?" And in Assassin's Creed, you don't have that same fluidity. And also when it comes to the grappling, because in both games there's a grappling hook mechanism. The only thing that I like about Assassin's Creed is the fact that you can just do like vertical climbs.
Well, you can switch it. There's a toggle button so that when you're in the middle of the rope, you can go from climbing it to swinging on it.
But I just mean that there's more options to kind of just like throw it up and then like climb upward. Yeah. While in Ghost of Tsushima, it's primarily swinging. Okay. There are times when they use it for climbing vertical up and it's not as smooth.
Right.
But when it comes to like traveling and swinging with it, especially if you're in an area where you're doing stealth, if you want to like run, swing, let go, and take off again, it's a lot smoother in Ghost of Tsushima. It's so fluid and accurate. While in Assassin's Creed, I feel like I'm running really fast and then like it's really slow swinging and then like a 50-50 chance on if you let go if you're going to make it to wherever it is that you're aiming towards.
I don't know. I haven't had that experience in Assassin's Creed. Like the swinging, I always get where I need to go. I've never missed landing anywhere.
I've missed plenty of times. There's been times when I'll swing and that she's like level at where I'm trying to go, and then I'll like release and she goes straight down to the ground.
Are you pressing A or B?
I don't remember. It's been a while, but I do it the way the game tells me to do it.
Because I think the game does tell you to press A because it's supposed to be part of like the parkour mechanic of her leaping to something. But if you press B, like if you're like at peak swing and you press B, she just lets go and it launches her.
No,
so if you need to go farther or just like more secure, press B and she just lets go and she keeps going.
No, I know. That's what I've been doing, but there's times when she'll like just go straight down.
I've never had that issue.
That's another thing, the layout of the controls. In order for me to have a somewhat satisfying or not as complicated gameplay for Assassin's Creed Shadow, I had to rearrange controls to a point to where it even messes up certain like QuickTime events later on in the game, just to have it to where, to me, like my brain is like comfortable and it makes sense. Didn't have to worry about that with Ghost of Tsushima. A very basic like control map layout thing, and again, it comes back to just a more satisfying gameplay.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I like both. But I think, like, I was excited for Assassin's Creed Shadow. Like, oh, cool new Assassin's Creed game, great. But I'm not nearly as excited as I used to be for Assassin's Creed.
Right.
But I'm like genuinely stoked for YOTEI.
But to talk a little bit, we did talk about this amongst ourselves. But I still think the thing that's probably the most interesting. It was more predictable with Assassin's Creed because, like you brought it before, they've been doing like the masked enemy roster thing for the past few games.
Right.
But it's just very peculiar that these two studios that have been working on these games for however many years,
right,
they both have a story about like a young female protagonist who is a part of a specific type of clan. One is a shinobi, one is what I'm assuming is a samurai, and she's like a self-trained ronin or kind of like a rice hat ronin. That's just purely just like assumption. But when they're at a kind of more vulnerable point in their life, a group of masked people come in with code names and different masks and styles and skills, come in and kill the main character's dad, and they kind of have this Kill Bill like hit list of these people, and they train themselves, they prep themselves, they probably make specific allies, and they go out into the world and they hunt these people down.
Right.
And I was just like, that is. And again, Assassin's Creed is probably more predictable. I'd say it's a little bit more clever. Like they put more of a story behind it, whilst like the previous games, it's just like it's some order.
Yeah.
And they wear the same mask or whatever. Which
It's
is
essentially the same order, just with a different name and different masks.
Yeah. But this time around, it was like it's a very specific group, and they're all from different aspects in parts of like Japanese military or political groups, and they're more of like an underground militia group other than like a cult like political movement.
They're like forgotten soldiers or Ronins or politics who have like a dark side.
Yeah, so it has that kind of stylistic, more narrative driven flair to it. But yeah, again, I just purely thought it was interesting that they were doing the same thing. And there's also both games. We also brought this up on our own conversation. In Assassin's Creed, there's kind of like an heirloom item that keeps showing up throughout the game for Naue.
Yeah.
And it's this, I don't know what it's called. Sorry, I'm an American, uncultured, not historical knowledge person. Whatever.
Got it.
But it's like this ceramic instrument that's kind of.
Oh, yeah.
But the whole point is that when her dad dies, it breaks, and the people that help Naue and kind of like bring her back onto her feet have like this very specific. I mean, it's like in Japanese culture, like history, but there's like a specific type of
welding.
Yeah, I guess you could call it welding, where they use gold.
Yeah.
To reinforce like an item.
Yeah, kind of like glue.
And it looks like in Ghost of Yotai, her mask is that same way.
Yeah.
Because it's like a porcelain mask, and there's like the gold cracks all over it.
Right.
And it's like, again, they're both in feudal Japan.
Yeah.
It's just so weird how like these games from two different studios, two different parts of the world, and for the X amount of years are making very different games, but at the same time, remarkably similar games.
Yeah.
Like conceptually similar games. With different results.
I don't know. I don't know how that happened.
It's almost like when art channels are different these days, but like when we were really into like watching art YouTube videos and stuff, they would do like art challenges where like they'd give all these different artists a prompt and you'd see what they would do with that prompt.
Right.
It's like that. It's like they gave two different AAA studios this same prompt in this budget, and they were like, go at it. Ubisoft decided to be like, oh, we can make that into an Assassin's Creed game. And the other team was like, oh, we can do something similar with a new Ghost game.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just the way my mind.
Yeah, I don't know.
So it's like, it's not like one's necessarily better or worse. They both have like these remarkable games, but the result is just so different and, in my opinion, incomparable. Like they both do things really well. Like I've talked about this before. Visually, both games are really good.
Yeah.
Something about Assassin's Creed environments, though, feel more full. Like the landscapes are more like vertical.
Yeah.
Like there's more mountains and like vertical hills. And when you like go through bushes and woodland areas, it's like full.
Yeah.
Like you can't just like walk past a tree and like see a bunch of open land. There's points when like you'll jump like off of a ledge unintentionally and you'll be like stuck in bushes that go for what feels like miles.
Yeah.
Whilst in Ghost of Tsushima, it's a lot of open fields. And again, it looks great.
Yeah.
It's like cornfields or wheat fields or whatever, or like flowers and it'll be very colorful and vibrant and stuff, but it's a lot of just open fields.
Yeah, and that's something else that I'm really curious about. Because I have so many questions about Ghost of Yotai, but something, me personally, after both playing Ghost of Tsushima and Assassin's Creed Shadow, again, I really don't know, because I don't know what the math or science behind making the environments or whatnot. Like, I don't know what went into that, but when I was playing Ghost of Tsushima, I felt like I was in like a historical Japan environment. Playing Assassin's Creed, I don't feel like I'm in Japan. I feel like I'm in a world, like in an environment that has Japanese culture, but I don't feel like I'm in Japan.
I don't know how to respond to that.
I don't know, like, just I don't know if maybe one of the games is more accurate as far as like which one has like an accurate like landscape for Japan, but I always feel like I'm in Japan playing a Ghost game, but playing Assassin's Creed Shadow, I don't feel like I'm actually in Japan.
Well, as two people who've never been to Japan, I'd say we can't definitively answer that.
Yeah, that's fair.
And again, it's probably one of those things, back to what I've said like tons of times already, it's probably one of those incomparable things because they're both probably accurate, but they probably are utilizing the land differently.
Yeah.
Like, because it's an Assassin's Creed game, they might have wanted to make the land feel more vertical. Whilst in Ghost of Tsushima or Yotai, there's more of an emphasis on seeing more of Japan. So they make things more horizontal, or like will open up so that you can just get on your horse and go.
Right.
Which Assassin's Creed, like, because it's so full and because there's not as much open space, like the roads are tighter and it takes you through like high trees and mountainsides and stuff like that.
Right.
So again, they're both probably accurate, but they just do it a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so that's happening. And then I think it was the same day, pretty sure, same day that the Ghost of Yotai trailer came out. There was another trailer.
The new Predator trailer.
Predator Badlands.
Yeah.
I've seen mixed opinions and reactions to it.
I have too.
I'm on the side that I'm actually very excited for this movie because I know what it's supposed to be. But at the same time, I would have preferred something else. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, okay, let me just get into this part. So, I could go around in circles about like how there's specific details on what this movie is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a more action-packed movie that I don't know if it takes place on like the homeworld of the Yacha and stuff. We do know that the main predator, and because they said this months ago, was gonna be like a good guy,
Right.
like we were gonna see it from their perspective.
It's more of just because it's in their perspective that makes him a good guy.
Right.
I feel like that should be more clear.
Uh-huh.
It's purely just for the sake that it's in their perspective where he's the protagonist.
Right. And
So he's quote unquote the good guy.
But some people are like, oh, but he looks weird. So according to the details released about the movie, it's because he's a younger Yacha. So he doesn't have like the same, his head hasn't shaped the same way as one that's like much more matured and stuff. But you know what? I don't want to dodge around it too much. There's a more specific detail about this movie that you already know about. that's been highly talked about, and it's the only thing people have really been talking about, is that the references and what's probably going to be a big plot line is the human characters in this movie work for Weyland-Yutani Corporation.
Yeah.
So this is something, as someone who's a big alien nerd, I'm kind of frustrated about. So I understand that and this is where it gets, I think we've even talked about this on the podcast before. This is where it gets really confusing and kind of stupid. According to Fox, all of the Alien movies are canon, with the exception of Alien Isolation is also canon.
Okay.
Not all of the books are canon. None of the comic books are canon, but that's canon. They said AvP is not canon.
Mm-hmm.
But according to the Predator franchise, everything with xenomorphs is canon. So it's almost like the best way you can look at it is the Predator franchise is like an alternative timeline of sorts. Like, it doesn't exist in the same timeline as Alien. Not that that's the exact case, but that's the best way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to make that clear because of how heavy the presence of Weyland-Yutani is in this.
Right.
Because way back when, after Prey came out and before Alien Romulus came out, the director of Prey was like, I really want to do an AvP movie. And the next thing, if I can, will probably be an AvP project. And Fede Alvarez was like, it would even be cool if like he directed everything with the Predators and I directed everything with the Aliens.
Yeah.
Which I was like, cool, fun, do stuff like that. But like,
I want to say real quick, I called it. After we saw Romulus, I'm like, one guy did really well with Prey.
And one guy did really good with Alien.
And I'm like, who's to say they're not going to try to do AvP again?
Yeah. They have been working on Badlands for a while, though.
Right.
So it was probably just something like maybe Fox was like, Aliens, it's on the right track. Yeah. So they greenlit Badlands like way ahead of time. But the problem is that this is when people get confused.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, it's this and this and that. And they'll have all these conversations. It's like, well, it's kind of like back to the other episode we talked about like fake news and stuff when people don't understand something, but they spread news anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this is one of those things people are going to get confused about. It's like, yes, in Predators, aliens exist, but in Aliens, Predators doesn't exist. It's like,
yeah. So I've seen a few people try to like show like, because I've seen different sources say like how the timeline actually works. So I think there's still a little bit of confusion on how the timeline actually works with both Aliens and Predators.
Right.
But the thing that the version that I think makes the most sense is, yes, in the Alien universe, Yacha don't exist.
Right.
In the Predator universe, the xenomorphs do exist, but AvP specifically was like a purely hypothetical type story.
Which it was.
Well, right. So, but AvP is not connected to either Predator or Alien.
Right.
But the new AvP projects that are coming out will connect both Prime Predator and Prime Alien.
Like starting now.
Right. Like, which I think...
Probably.
Which I'm...
Like even Badlands might do that.
I'm completely okay with that. Because one, it introduces us to humans that aren't like modern day, which I think is where it really gets confusing. Because modern day stuff shouldn't have been introduced with alien stuff.
Which is also going to get really confusing with Alien Earth because it takes place like 2097, like right before Prometheus.
Yeah, that I don't know. But see, I was under the impression that Alien Earth was also disconnected.
They said that might not be the case. They said it's going to be stuff that takes place.
Well, anyways,
I don't know. We'll find out.
I think that this is a perfect opportunity for two things. One, to bring the two franchises together in a very solidified timeline that has both coexist. And as a redemption to bring us AvP. Because I like the idea of Aliens versus Predator. I think it's a fun idea. And there is, to a degree, why like I do like the AvP movies.
Mm-hmm.
To a degree of like it's a fun idea, but if taken seriously and done right, I think an Aliens versus Predator movie now could be really good. First off, like I was saying, make sure it takes place in the future. No modern day stuff.
Well, Badlands definitely takes place in the future.
Well, right, but I'm just saying, like anything Alien versus Predator,
right?
Make it future. Rather it's way after Alien stuff completely or just somewhere in between.
Yeah.
But don't make it too actiony. Don't focus too much on the humans. Kind of have like a good balance between like whatever the Predator is going through and then the humans.
Yeah.
But make it dark and still have that suspense of like a horror movie. Kind of like what they did with the Predator movie that took place like on the Yacha planet, or like the not the Yacha planet, but like the hunting
Predators.
Ground.
Right.
So do something like that where like, yes, you see like how the humans are surviving and it is still very suspenseful and it's kind of like a slasher where they're constantly being followed, but add in the element of xenomorphs.
Right.
And then it makes it that much more grim, that much more intense, that much more bloody. And that's where I think you go right with an Aliens versus Predator thing.
Yeah.
And it makes it very confusing, especially depending on how you write the humans. It can make it very confusing on who to root for. Who's the protagonist? Who's the antagonist? Are we rooting for the humans or are we kind of rooting for the Predator to kill the humans?
Yeah.
Which is another reason why I liked the Predators movie, was because all those people were rather hunters, or you had like a couple guys who were like killers, like psychopaths or prisoners. It kind of makes you wonder, like, do I want to root for the humans just for the sake that they're humans? Or do I kind of want to root for the Predators because these are all kind of like pieces of shit?
Yeah, my biggest issue, though, with them being crossed over is that, personally, it's just my opinion, I feel like it takes away from what makes the selling point of each of the franchises.
Yeah.
So, like with Alien, you have the perfect organism. You have this thing that's like beyond human comprehension, unknown origin.
Right.
To an extent. It's strong and it's, you know, it's this thing that's like an unstoppable force.
Right.
But it's scary. It's like, what are you supposed to do against this thing?
Yeah.
And then you have Predators, which is like, it's the ultimate hunter.
Yeah.
It goes to different planets for the greatest game.
Yeah. You're kind of answering your own question, though.
But but my problem is that my definition of me answering my own question is it takes away. You can easily end up with simple writing mistakes. You can end up having one rather overshadow the other, or they both end up losing their quality, like their niche completely. Because rewatching the AvP movies, the aliens are not scary.
Yeah.
They just kind of seem like rodents, like giant oversized rodents that are really annoying.
Yeah.
with the exception of the queen, who's like a giant T-Rex.
Yeah.
And the predators are kind of just like an edgy good guy.
Yes.
After they're hunting people. And even in AvP Requiem, the alien predator hybrid is an interesting idea, but he's not scary at all.
Right.
And the predator's practically a good guy. Practically. And then you just have the problem with the predator in general. Like that was what was great about Prey, is Prey made the predator look like, again, an almost unstoppable killing machine.
Right.
Until like someone had to outwit it.
Yeah.
But when you have all of these like conflicting factors into a movie, it's easy for all of that to be taken away for the sake of it being an action-packed thing.
So, but that also kind of goes with what I was saying before. If you have humans in it, try not to focus too much on the humans, because then the story kind of falls into, well, the humans are the protagonists. Aliens and predators are kind of just like balancing it out. Hopefully they rather kill each other, or like the best comes on top, and then the humans find a way to survive, and it's whatever. But that's kind of what I was just saying in general. Like, it's a cool idea. It just needs to be done right, because you want to utilize all the ideas of the fact that the predator is the ultimate hunter.
Yeah.
And usually he's put in situations to where he rather has a challenge, or the prey isn't necessarily anything compared to him. Like in Prey, we saw him take down a bear with ease. But like the whole idea that he is like a Yacha is the ultimate predator, literally, against the perfect organism and like hunting creature thing,
right?
That could be a great story, just like Batman versus Superman, like mind against fist kind of thing,
right?
Like, as long as it's done right, that could be a sick story. So you could take humans out completely. You could make the main character a Yacha, and his goal is strictly to survive in like a ship that's very similar to, rather, if you want to do more an outer space thing to where a predator kind of has to do what humans usually do in alien movies, but like show how the predator does under a lot of pressure going up against something that it actually has to like use all of its brain power on.
Yeah.
And how it can utilize its ability to survive against the greatest organism.
Yeah.
And you could rather do one xenomorph, or you could do multiple xenomorph up against one Yacha. But that could be such a cool movie. And it could be like a really cool survival thing. And it could still have a horror aspect, because you're still kind of rooting for the Yacha, who's going under a very horror-like situation, but still doing what it does as a Yacha.
Yeah.
And then you could have moments where it does kind of switch the scenario, and you could have scenes, very brief, but you could have scenes where it does take place from a xenomorph's point of view, and see how a xenomorph like inevitably gets killed by a Yacha, and then you can kind of have the tables turn a little bit. I don't know how it would be done. I'm not saying like I've got it down. I think it would be difficult, but I think it's still a really cool idea that just hasn't been done right. And I feel like there's potential for that to happen.
Yeah.
They just really have to like be like, hey, remember, this isn't a slasher film. This isn't a campy like teenagers getting killed while they're having sex movie. This is like two of like the universe's greatest things being put against each other.
Right.
Action.
Yeah. I mean, I hear you. If there was a world where that could all be done right, cool. The timing just sucks though. Because I'm so sick of this thing versus this thing. And I know it was kind of, there was a point when that blew up before. Didn't go that well. And it's kind of having a resurgence ever since, like, Captain America Civil War / Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
But and then we got Godzilla versus Kong, and I feel like there's another one. Wasn't there?
No.
I felt like there was another really big crossover movie. Again, so much shit comes out these days. But essentially what I'm saying is that the whole pitch of like pitting this thing versus this thing, I'm over it. I'd rather just see them put their time and money in, you know, making the Alien franchise strong again. And same thing with the Predator franchise. There's so many stories that I could think of right now of like what you can do with the new Predator movie or what you could do with the new Alien movie.
Yeah.
Putting them together is like nowhere on where I think the priority should be, especially selling point wise, because like the Predator, while like always could have a hint of horror, should be that excuse to lean into action a little bit more.
Yeah.
Whilst the Alien franchise should be leaning more towards horror,
Right.
maybe with the flair here and there of action. So essentially like reverse. One's like action with a hint of horror and one's horror with a hint of action.
Yeah.
And because that's just where they're stronger, and trying to mix the two is just, in my personal opinion, is just a waste of time. I think they're stronger on their own, and I'd rather see them on their own.
I think one of the things that does make me kind of excited though is because you do have one guy on like one end of the coin who really understands Predator and how it should work.
Right.
Because Prey was just an amazing movie, and just talking about it really makes me want to watch it.
Yeah.
And then on the other end, we have someone who really does understand what an Alien movie should be like.
Mm-hmm.
And not only because he did a lot of the very classic Alien tropes, but he like added on to it. He did things that have never been in other Alien movies before.
Right.
We got to see things that really added to the horror and the like this disturbing nature of xenomorphs.
Yeah.
So put those two minds together and see if they can do what failed in the past, because maybe that was the issue. Maybe the biggest issue about the original Alien versus Predator was that they didn't have people, like maybe they had people who were fans of both, but I don't think creative writing wise or direct wise, I don't think they had people who understood how to make a Predator or an Alien movie. They were just like, let's just throw them in there, make it really like flashy, and go for it.
Right.
But actually having two people who understand both sides of the coin get together and be like, okay, this is what we need for the Predator stuff, and this is what we need for the Alien stuff, without compromising anything, without ruining or overshadowing. How do we do that? And like taking time and then providing us something like, hey, other people failed in the past, but we really think that we've got it down this time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's what makes me confident enough to be like, I will let you guys give it a shot. But I will say, I kind of wish it was swapped as far as how or like what kind of Predator projects we're getting. Because we're getting one that's like a Yacha who's kind of going through like a Conan the Barbarian thing. Someone used a different movie analogy which made way more sense, but kind of like someone like going through like a Hercules thing, like someone being put through like trials and whatnot.
Oh.
But I kind of wish that was the animated one,
Oh,
and the live action would have been a more traditional, like Yacha versus.
What is that Predator movie called?
Ooh.
What?
The like Predator of Predators, like something like that.
Predator. Shit. Killer of Killers.
Killer of Killers.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
I wish
I would have liked to see that live action.
Because like years ago when Prey like just came out and they were talking about what they wanted to do in the future, they said they wanted to do a samurai versus Predator.
Yeah.
My mind instantly thought of
That would be sick.
a live action version of that, you know.
Right. And see, and that's another thing. When it comes to more experimental stuff, like trying to do Aliens versus Predators again, I'd rather see like an animated short film or just an animated movie.
And it could still be canon.
Yeah, like if it's sure, like if it's still handled tastefully and stuff, they could still attempt to make it canon. But I'd rather see those experimental stuff done animated, because again, a samurai in World War II or a samurai in feudal Japan, or wait, a predator in World War II,
Yeah.
a predator in feudal Japan, that would be sick.
Yeah.
All of those are great ideas.
Or like the Viking one.
Or the predator. Yes,
Dude, a predator versus like a Viking,
like a huge like Beowulf Viking like dude, that would be sick as shit.
up against like a predator who looks like aesthetically like as if they're one of the bigger predators, like something that's a little bit more like hefty,
like that. That would
and
make
like adapted for like snow weather too.
that'd make a sick live action movie.
That
Even
would.
if it was like an anthology. Like a live action anthology, like VHS, where it's like in a movie, but it's telling like Act 1 is this story,
Right.
or maybe it's the same predator who's like the longest living Yacha,
And like in each one, he's like a little bit aged, and he's like more scarred, like he rather has armor or something that shows,
or like trophies from the last one or something
Right.
like that. And every time he's like stronger, he's smarter. Kind of like Sifu. Like he's stronger and he's smarter, but maybe he's a little bit like each time he's a little bit more tactical.
Yeah.
While like before he would go in like swinging fists and shit.
Right.
That would make a sick movie.
That would, and it would also show like how predators evolve. They learn from like their prey, and then they adapt to it for their next.
And they only get better.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't want the action packed
sorry.
stuff.
Speaking of Predator stuff, I have to throw this in there, and I know it doesn't matter to you as much, but they released the first issue of Predator versus Spider-Man.
Oh.
And I've kind of been disappointed with some of the Predator crossover stuff that they did. Like they did one with Predator versus Black Panther, which was like the biggest disappointment.
That should have been good.
It should have been. It would have been. And it has so much potential to.
Right.
But
like that's handing it.
So I was super nervous about the whole Spider-Man one, because I was like, oh, it's Spider-Man. Like, I don't know. Like if the Black Panther one was bad, this one is probably going to be worse. But first off, it has been stated to be the most gruesome and like bloody Spider-Man story to ever exist.
Okay.
And some of the panels show it. It's like, it's gnarly. They show so much like blood and gore and like skinned corpses and stuff like that. And so here are the things that I like about it. So with the Black Panther one, where it faltered was that they used a lot of the more canon Black Panther stuff integrated into the story.
Okay.
So it kind of felt like as if they were trying to hint that maybe the Yacha took place in the main Marvel continuity and what have you. But and they kind of excluded Black Panther. Like it was quote unquote Black Panther versus Predator, but it took more from the perspective of other characters versus the Yacha.
Okay.
Like Black Panther was barely in it. But with this, it's a very like basic Spider-Man world. So like it's regular like default Peter Parker working at the Daily Bugle. Mary Jane is his love interest. It's in a very classic New York Spider-Man setting.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not connected to main continuity or anything like that. And it's just gruesome. But this Predator, I don't know much about him, like this Yacha, but I think there's something off about him because he does certain things that Yacha usually don't do. Like
Okay.
he's got a little bit more of a personality because so he's like stalking a group of people on a train that he like cut the power to, which Mary Jane is in, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And Mary Jane is like, "Oh, I think I see someone out the window," and you just see the Yacha like quickly like approach, like they kind of write it like a jump scare, but the Yacha has the skin, like a skinned face of someone that he killed prior, like resting on his mask.
Okay.
But like if you look at like how the Yacha is like shaped and everything, he looks a little different. So I'm wondering if he's one of those, I forgot what they're called, but they're the more wild Yacha.
Oh.
Like the ones that like aren't as uniformed and
Yeah, but those ones are more aggressive and like they don't. I know what you're talking about. They're more aggressive and they don't have like a specific code or anything like that. And they usually aren't like part of the main political or like societal aspect of the Yacha. But from what I remember, they're not like demented. They're still just as like stealthy and aggressive as a predator, but they're not like weird.
Well, right. So I wonder what it is that they're going for this Yacha. Like, I wonder if they're trying to like not like trying to rewrite the rules of the Yacha, but if maybe they're just trying to make a more character, like a stylized version of it. I don't know. But what I really do like about it is that there is a horror aspect to it. It is suspenseful. Okay. It's gnarly. And it's got that like early Predator edge to it that a lot of the recent stuff was missing. Like a lot of it was showing like Yachas having like conversations with each other. It was very colorful panels, not a lot of blood. And I bring that up because I feel like it's important. Like Yacha are gnarly.
Yeah.
And that was missing in some of the recent crossover stuff. But this is like whoever's writing the story, long story short, aside from the more characterized stuff that they're doing with the Yacha, aside from that, I feel like they really understand how a Predator story is written, which is why I'm excited for it. And honestly, that's been something I've been super curious about, just Spider-Man versus Predator in general. Because we always get like Batman or Black Panther, like characters you kind of expect, but like Spider-Man, that's a new one. And to have him go up against someone who's so bloody and gnarly. Oh, and they're also introducing Kraven into the story. Like they're having like a hunter theme. So like Kraven found out that there's something in New York City aside from Spider-Man and he wants to hunt it.
I think there's something kind of like unmissed potential there. Just instead of doing Spider-Man versus the Predator, it was just doing Kraven versus the Predator.
I agree, but the only thing is I feel like what makes it a little more interesting is because that's kind of expected. I like the idea of throwing two different opponents who are very different from each other.
Yeah.
Like, you're right. That is a cool idea.
But Predator, in a way, isn't unfamiliar to Spider-Man because he's just a bigger Kraven.
Yeah.
He's like a bigger, futuristic Kraven.
Yeah, with different technology, strategy.
But that's what I'm saying.
Physical
Like, I think that's why I
capabilities.
think Kraven versus the Predator would be more interesting, because they're both the greatest hunters, but they hunt differently. One is like they stalk and they scan and they recon, whilst the other one tracks and uses more tactile stuff,
Right.
and likes to use traps and stuff and things like that.
Look, I don't agree. I don't disagree with you. I think you're right. There is a lot of potential for that kind of story. I'm just excited because I'm just, I love Spider-Man. I'm very curious on what they go for. And honestly, I think I would have been more on your side if the first issue was very reminiscent to like how the Black Panther one went. If it was very colorful and modern and expected of what something Marvel would do,
Yeah.
I probably would have been like, screw this. I want to see him versus Kraven. But the fact that it feels so gnarly and edgy and true to what a Predator story should be compared to what they've done in the past crossover stuff,
Right.
it makes me so curious on like what's going to happen with Spider-Man. Is he even going to win? If you might think that that's an obvious answer, but just based on how it's going, I feel like there could be potential where they're like, actually, this isn't main continuity. We kind of think that the Yacha would win. We're going to have him kill Spider-Man. We never know.
Right.
So I think that's why I'm so curious, is because it kind of feels like they might. And the first issue kind of already hints that Mary Jane might already be dead. So, and if they do that route, then it's like, man, there's like no limits here. I'm kind of digging it. And I kind of just want to see Spider-Man go up against someone who's like so unhinged. Like, yes, there's Venom and he's got villains and whatnot, but like now it's like hard R, and they're like, there's no PG-13 here or anything like that. Like, Spider-Man might die. So
Maybe. But back to Badlands. I'm obviously going to see it.
Oh yeah,
It looks interesting. I think it really just depends on how they handle the Wayland Yutani aspect of the movie. I'm really curious as to what that antler-headed, culty-looking Yacha was.
me too.
He's almost like a clan leader, but he was like all blacked out, and
He had white dreads.
yeah, he doesn't look like the same clan leader Yacha that we see, unless he's one of those Yacha you were talking about. That's like one of the off-skirt, like banished.
He might
ones.
be, or who knows? Maybe they're introducing new lore, and there's like a different
clan or something.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, because Prey itself was already a retconned idea
right
of like mankind's first encounter with the Predator.
and to show that there might be potential for other branches and races of Yacha and stuff like that.
Right. So, and I think even Killer of Killers is doing that too. I think one of those clips is like a bigger Yacha.
Yeah.
So we'll see. So lots happening this year. Like a lot is happening this year.
Yeah.
So a lot to keep up with.
I also want to throw this in real quick because I don't know if it's true or not, and there's not really much to talk about. It might just be this one statement. I think there's leaks of behind the scenes of the Spawn movie.
What?
I saw these pictures, like the same, like 3 pictures that like blew up social media of like Spawn on like.
I wonder if it's the same ones I saw, but they were AI generated. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, look at these set
I
photos
don't know,
of."
maybe
Did it look like it was nighttime in an alleyway and there was like a crew around him?
Yeah.
It was AI generated.
Shoot, I feel dumb.
Yeah, no,
The ones I was looking at.
they were pretty convincing.
Yeah.
But if you look, it's
Damn.
fake. It's very fake.
Well, never mind. I'm just gonna go get.
I know exactly. As soon as you said behind the scenes, I was like, I know what you're exactly about. They're fake.
God, I got my hopes up.
No, it's just the unfortunate fact that AI is becoming more and more convincing.
Yeah,
but it is what it is. I think we can leave it at that, though.
Yeah.
But with everything being said, all that mumbo jumbo, rando, crapo, lolo, puchududo, whatever you want to say, yo.
Okay.
Cheerio. For anyone who's stuck around this long, it's greatly appreciated. We like to have you here. Listen to our rambling about all kinds of nerdy stuff. A like goes a... Oh my gosh. I'm messing this up. A like, comment is greatly appreciated. Let us know about any of the topics that we covered today and your thoughts on those things. We talked about Marathon again. We talked about Assassin's Creed again. We also covered the new Predator projects. We covered Ghost of YOTEI and how it compares to Assassin's Creed. We talked about my bowel movements.
Yes.
So whatever your thoughts are, put them in the comments below. If you're listening to us on Spotify, a rating is also very appreciated and helps us out a ton. If you have any friends who want to listen to us ramble about these things and other things as well, please let them know, because that's how we get new followers and listeners. And yeah, all that algorithm stuff is how we will grow, hopefully. And with that being said, I've been your host, Aaron.
And I've been your host, Ben.
And we hope y'alls have a great one.
Peace.